Hello students, today's agenda is to give you back the test results. You will be turning in from the packet 4.1 to 4.7 and you will be able to do tangent, which is 6.1. Today students will be able to find side lengths of right triangles by using tangent ratios in word problems. Before we start, we need to know this information. Tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So this is something that we need to know because we're going to be learning three different trigonometric ratios, which is tangent, sine, and cosine. For today, it's only tangent. Opposite, first of all, we have to identify which angle we're talking about. And in here, theta, it's this right here. It's just a Greek letter representing or taking the space of the measurement of that angle, okay? So in here, the opposite is gonna be exactly in front. If you draw from that angle an arrow, that's gonna be your opposite side, okay? It's straight across from the angle that we're talking about. And adjacent is the side between the angle that you're talking about and the 90-degree angle. Whenever you see this is the 90-degree angle, okay? So another way to say the adjacent is not the hypotenuse. A lot of people have an easier way to find the hypotenuse because it's the longest one. So the adjacent is touching that angle, okay? It's one of the sides of that angle, which is not the hypotenuse. The adjacent touches the 90-degree angle and the angle. It's between those two angles, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. And this is what we have as the last note. Hypotenuse is the longest side opposite to the 90-degree. So for the tangent, we don't need the hypotenuse, okay? For the tangent, no hypotenuse. We only need the opposite and the adjacent. Okay, so having that in mind, this is our first exercise. It says, Melly is looking up at his friend who is on top of a hill. Okay, this is the friend, this is Melly. She is looking up at a 79-degree angle and is 50 feet away from the base of the cliff. So this is the base of the big cliff, the tall cliff, right? And she's 50 feet away. So now, how tall is the base? I forgot to include that. How tall is the hill? Did I say base? How tall is the hill? And so this is what we're going to do. And I'm going to show you with two different calculators how to find that, because sometimes that's the tricky part, not really that you don't understand the concept of tangent, but rather how do we use it in the calculator. And so we already said that tangent of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. The more you write this relationship, the easier it's going to be for you to remember, okay? And so in here, what we're gonna do, first of all, this is the angle. Opposite is exactly in front of that angle that we're talking about. Erase, erase, erase. It's not hypotenuse. It's opposite over adjacent. Okay, and so tangent of theta, what is theta? Is the measurement of the angle in degrees. Opposite is exactly in front of that angle that we're talking about, okay? In this case, it would be x divided by the measurement of the adjacent angle divided by the x and we're going to divide by the adjacent side, which in this case we see, remember, adjacent is between the angle and the 90-degree angle. So the two angles that we are talking about. So in this case is 53. And from here, if we're dividing, we want to know the value of x, right? We want to know how tall the hill is. And so if we're dividing by 53, the opposite is to multiply by 53 on both sides. This cancels, and that's how we're going to find our value of x. So let me show you in this calculator the way you do it. And I usually tell my students, draw an arrow of where you start. You're going to start right here with the 79 and go backwards if you have this type of calculator. Also remember that this parenthesis means multiplication, because if we cancel by the division by multiplying, it means multiplication, okay? So this is how you're going to input it into your calculator. The first thing is you start here, 79, tangent, 79 tangent, right here, times, remember this means times, and then the 53. Okay, and you press equal. So x is going to be 273. Let me do it again. 79 tangent times 53 equals 272. And we can just put 60, the hundredths or the tenths. If it's a tenth, then this makes it 7 for the hundredths, because the next one is a 1. This one doesn't add anything in here, only 5, 6, 7, or 8, or 9, okay? So this is going to be, the cliff is 272.66 feet. Now let me write down the way you put it in your calculator so that you have a note of this. The first thing you put is the angle. In this case, we put 79. The second thing we put is the tangent, which is the trig ratio. The third thing is times. Then the one that we cancel, which is the side that we have. And you press equal. Okay, so that's with this calculator. And whatever it gives you in the calculator, that's your result. Now let's do it with this calculator right here. For this calculator, you're going to do it a little bit different, okay? And so once you figure out which calculator you have, that's the one that you should write down. I'm gonna write both ways in here, but for this type of calculator, you go in the right direction. So it's gonna be 53 first, which is the side that you have, then times, then you're going to write the trigonometric ratio, then the angle. So in this case it's tangent, and I'm just saying trigonometric ratio because later on we're going to be learning two other ones. The angle, which in this case is 79, and for some calculators you can close it or not close because in here it opens a parenthesis that you don't have to press, but you have to close it, and finally equal. This is questionable. Some calculators needs it, some don't. So let's try it. So it's 53 times tangent. See how it opens a parenthesis right there? 79. In this calculator, I noticed that I don't have to close it, but I'm just going to do that. Close the parentheses right here, and then you press equal. And if you notice, it's the same 272.66, okay? So the order is different, but again, you can just figure out which calculator you have, which order you have to input the information, because I think that's the main key for which some people don't get trigonometric ratios, is because they don't know what kind of calculator they have. Okay, so that's the first one. Remember, opposite over adjacent. Not hypotenuse, like I put. Okay, the next one says, you look up at a wall that is 10 feet away. Okay, so there is a wall. Let me just put it on this side. So there is a wall. Let's make it fancy. And it's 10 feet away from where you are. Okay? 10 feet away. Then it says your line of sight is 5 feet from the ground. And this is additional. In fact, some books, if the distance is a lot higher and longer, they don't pay attention to these 5, but I'll show you why they're saying this. And you look up 30 degrees. So we're talking about this right here, okay? Then it says, how tall is your wall? Okay, so we have that the angle is right here. Opposite is right here. They're talking about the wall, which is that we don't know how tall it is. And we know this distance. From here to here is the same as from here to here, because we're 10 feet away, either from our feet or our eyes, okay? And so in here we're gonna have, again, tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. And what is opposite? So we're going to put tangent of 30. Remember, we're replacing now the angle, which is represented by theta. We're replacing the opposite measurement and the adjacent measurement. So in here is going to be opposite is x. Adjacent is always between the 90-degree angle and the angle that we have, okay, which is 10 feet. Again, if we're dividing to find the value of x, the opposite is to multiply by 10 on both sides. And again, it depends on what kind of calculator you have. If you have this calculator, you go this way, remembering that this is times. If you have this calculator, you have to remember that it goes starting with a 10 times tangent 30 close parenthesis equal. So you go in that direction, okay, for this one. So since I'm going to use this one, I'm going to put 30 tangent times 10 equal. And so that's the value of x. X is equals to 5 point, let's round to the tenths this time so that you have, you remember or review how to do that. For the tenths place is the one after the decimal point, but you look at the second one, if that's 5 or more, then you add one more in here. So it's 5.8, okay? So 5.8, and it's in feet. So that's going to be how tall the wall is. True? No. So 5.8 feet is just from here to here because we're not taking into consideration that it's 5 feet higher Okay, again, some don't even pay attention to that little piece of information, but in this case, we're gonna add the 5 feet of how tall you are. In your assignment, because it's bigger amounts, you don't have to do that. You can just forget about this. We're not gonna add the 5 feet, okay? So it will be 10.8 feet. That's how tall the wall is. So 5.8 from here, 5 from here, that's 10.8. And you can see that is not proportional, okay? So remember just the order. For this one, 30, tangent, you press the tangent, times, and then 10, okay? Write it down if you need to. So 30, tangent, times 10, equal. Don't forget the equal, that's very important. With this calculator, it will be the way, in the order that it is, 10 tangent, no, times, sorry, times tangent 30, close parentheses, equal, okay? So those are the two different types of calculators, and let's do one more. Pause it if you need to copy it down. Okay, this one is a little different, and I want you to notice. It says, you look down at a cliff at your friend at 55 degrees. Okay, the cliff is 200 feet tall. So how far from the base of the cliff is your friend? So you are at a cliff, okay? You're looking down at your friend. So let's say that if you were to look straight, you will look this way. But you're lowering your vision to look at your friend who is down here, okay? Something else that they tell you is that the cliff is 200 feet tall. And I don't think this might be proportional, but okay, that's another piece of information. And then it says, how far from the base of the cliff is your friend? So from the base right here to your friend, how far is that? Okay, one thing that you need to notice is that you're looking down from here to here, and that's at 55 degrees. So what you're going to do is that the whole thing here is 90 degrees. You need to subtract. Whenever you're looking down, you have to subtract, because the angle that we need to use is the one inside of that triangle formed by the 3 points. Your friend, yourself, and the base of the cliff. So 90 minus 55 gives me 35 degrees. Okay, so 90 minus 55 is 35 degrees. That's the angle right here. Now we have the angle that we really need in order to solve this problem. Again, it's going to be tangent of theta is equals to opposite over adjacent. And that's going to be tangent of not 55, but 35. And some people get confused. Some students say, teacher, I'm not sure when we have to subtract. Usually I say if you're looking down, that helps a lot, because you're lowering, or that's the angle outside of the triangle, okay? And so tangent of 35 is equal to opposite, remember that it's always right in front of the angle, which is x, divided by adjacent, remember that is between the 90-degree angle, and now I'm not talking about this 90-degree angle, but this angle that we're using here, okay? So it would be 200. I multiply by 200 on both sides. This cancels, and so x is equal to Again, if we're using this calculator, draw the arrow. It's going that way, okay? So 35 tangent times, don't forget that there is times in here. Did I press it? Sorry. 35 tangent times 200 equals. And so the measurement is, I think I'm going to round it to, since it's so far up to here, I'm just going to round to the hole, which is 140 feet. And as I said, it's not proportionate. You can see that in reality, this should be smaller than the 200. Okay, so 140 feet. With the other calculator, again, you just go in the direction in which we read. So it would be 200, clear, 200 times tangent 35, close the parentheses and press equal. See, 140.04. I'll write it down in a minute, but something that I want you to see is that even if you don't close it in this one, and I'm talking about this one because there are others that do need to have that parentheses. So 200 tangent 35. I'm not closing it. Oops, I'm not closing it. I'm just going to press equal, and you get 140.041, etc., etc. Okay, so let me just write it down for the two different calculators. And for this one is 35. You always start with the angle, tangent, which is the ratio, then times, don't forget the times, the other side that we get, and equal. For this calculator, it's going to be 200 times tangent 35, close it for some calculators, equal. Don't forget the equal, okay? So with this, now you're able to do 6.1 and have fun.